So, hello everyone, Modern here, it was Man of Culture time here. I talk about Monster Girl Doctor, right? An anime that I really want to like, but I don't, right? And that's why I want to make this review here, talk about episode 3 here a little bit, and generally it's anime, right? And I'm just, I'm not saying this is the worst anime ever, goes far from it, but it's just probably one of the most boring Monster Girl animes, like specifically Monster Girl, you know, sexy harpies, Kentars, I mean, this is Seaton doing the art, but yeah, and so on. Lamias, of course, but yeah. It's just nothing kind of idea, right? So I want to explore this video here a little bit here, and I probably do a longer review when it's finished, right? So watch less of it, but it's just that nothing much happens in the anime, right? Nothing much happens. And episode 3, I think actually was a fun episode. Because the zombie girl, which is of course one of Zombieland's Seika's, she's just young cute, something like that. She's a really good voice actor. I think it was fun, the more masculine voice, and so actually I liked episode 3 here, episode 8, the most of all the episodes. And especially I liked, you know, kind of when Telase there doing this whole like, it's a kind of perv sensei, which is getting all frustrated with him touching the leg and so on. That actually made me laugh. So like for the actual, and I'm, obviously I am a guy. If you see my channel, I am a person, right? That I was like, Kiriya-sama, I'm laughing 20 minutes later. I'm dying of laughter. I'm literally almost dying from laughter from that kind of high quality comedy anime, right? And I also think like this is, if you have Usagi-san, I don't think it's the funniest anime ever, but I'm laughing a lot, right? Yeah, when I watched Peter Grill, I think it's a lot funnier than this anime, and so on, right? And even more than, of course, Kanuyo Rent a Girlfriend, even though it's the simplest thing ever, it's really funny, right? So I'm laughing constantly. But this anime, I'm not saying that you have to make a Monster Girl anime a horror comedy-ish rom-com anime, even though that's standard, right? But that's the first thing. That is the standard. So if you want to make something like Monster, you know, obviously Monster Musume with the exact same, you know, monsters and so on, right? In that anime, it's really, really fun, right? Mia, Centuria, Sue, and so on. It's comedy, right? This anime isn't comedy. So I think that's one thing that we here as the viewer, I guess, has to just understand, I suppose, though, in its defense, I suppose, arguably in its defense, that it is not made to be funny, right? It's not made to be funny. So it's like when you kind of like accept that notion that Monster Girl Doctor isn't supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be a little more like exploring this different monster situation and this is so on, and a little ecchi, I guess, but not really doesn't have that much jokes. Even though there are some jokes, like that one there which is calling him a perv, yeah. Even there are some jokes there. It's not supposed to be main comedy. I suppose it's not, right? And having that understanding, it's probably something I kind of myself was like, okay, I get it now. Episode 2, it's like it's not comedy at all, yeah. That makes it better, in my opinion, because episode 1 you expect it to be like, you know, Monster Musume and be constantly, you know, rom-com jokes, right? And it really isn't, right? The problem though is that what is this anime then, right? What the problem is like, but what is it then? What is the anime if it is not comedy? Because usually, again, right, these kind of premise, let's call it premise sort of genre. In a premise of monster girls, sexy monster girls, it has to be done usually right with comedy. So it's all this like romantic and they fight about the guy, right, or the girl or whatever, and they have this to do back and forth, right? That's usually kind of the, you know, the, how say it, the general narration, right? That is more like about a romance thing. And this anime has that with the main girl, with the Lamia girl, Safi-san. She's clearly in love, she's pregnant, she's clearly in love with the main character. It has that, and it has a little bit of those netto rare rom-com jokes, right? So I think a problem with anime, I think that's like the first major issue with this anime, is that it's trying to be a little more serious, I guess. A little more, you know, oh, it's not like ecchi comedy, it's actually like a very serious storytelling of, you know, it's trying to be a little bit that, but it's also trying to be that kind of, you know, oh, here's a comedy joke, here's she getting, that's my boyfriend. They have trying to have this rom-com thing, very little though, but it's like a few minutes per episode where she's getting that, you know, rom-com comedy, right? So it's like, it's trying to be that, and of course, last then, I said it, it's also trying to be some kind of like drama with some kind of like, you know, there's some war or something, but it's peace now, but it's some kind of people fighting the zombie girl and they kind of like slave trade. It's trying to be a little bit of like a political drama or something. And I had a comment last week like, oh, it's gonna be great after episode 6 when it's being a political drama or something, right? But so far, it's just kind of like trying a little bit of everything, and also, yeah, ecchi, of course, but also incredibly little ecchi. This episode here has the most ecchi. Yeah, episode 2 had one ecchi scene that wasn't very good, and episode 1 had like almost no ecchi scene, right, with the whole scene, so it's like one scene as well, and then, yeah, the snake in the mouth, I guess, yeah, 1 minute of that. Episode 3 had at least the leg and arm thing. The arm thing didn't make any sense, though, in my opinion, honestly. It's very nitpicky here, but he's touching her, the not zombie, flesh golem, also made no sense for that matter, but touching her arm, and that makes her basically, you know, oh, he's smashing my arm, like, what's happening? The leg up her, the leg thing is one thing, but why is she getting so incredibly emotional when he's touching her, like, fingers? I was like, man, this is kind of, yeah, so that to me actually felt like pretty bad, actually, honestly, like, because it's like, man, it's very forced, I felt. Yeah, it's like, come on, he's touching her, he's lifting up her arm, and he's like, ah, yeah. So I don't know. But that being said, from ecchi standpoint, episode 3 had the most ecchi and the most comedy. So actually, if the anime was like episode 3 all the way through, all the episodes, I'd probably like it more, of course. That being said, though, I think my main conclusion watching the anime, and I felt that during episode 3, especially episode 2, which I felt was a drag, like really bad pacing, episode 3 felt that too, that is a chore to watch this anime. I think that's like the main emotion I have. Not really giving it as a why. I'm just saying that when I'm watching episode 3, episode 2 even more so, I feel like, okay, so the first minute of episode 3 is funny when they have the zombie, you know, the zombie girl, the flesh golem, she meets with Skadi and they talk a little bit. That's kind of funny. And then it's like, it usually episode 2 is like 10 or so minutes, but almost nothing happens. And then you find the legs, and, you know, Tila says this little joke about her and the sensei and so on, right? And then the end is at the ecchi, right? So it's the pace of the anime is so slow, right? That's the first thing. I think it's like an objective issue with the anime, is that the pacing is tremendously slow. Episode 2 was even worse, right? Nothing happened basically for the first 10 minutes, in my last review, and then in the last, so, you know, one ecchi scene, one saving in the water scene, very, very quickly resolved, right? And then it's all right. And you could have skipped half the episode. And I said this exactly in my last review of the anime, that they can very, very easily have had the whole mermaid scene could have been the first 10 minutes, right? And then, as I said, as my presumption was, that the whole zombie episode also probably could have been one episode. And that's definitely true. That they could have had these two, episode 2 and 3, could have been one episode, and have the exact same content, same jokes, and, you know, the exact same ecchi scenes, right? So the pacing is tremendously slow. Even though the episode 3 has a little better episode 2, but this is just like, man, you could cut away like almost half the episode, and it would be the same episode, right? So, and I feel that gives you that really sure feeling to it. Like, I'm watching here, waiting for like a man of culture. I'm thinking, oh, where's my monster girl? Where's my action? Yeah, I'm kind of like waiting for it to happen, you know, because I know that there's like one ecchi scene per episode. That's basically the premise, right? There's one monster girl, the hentai scene per episode, right? So I'm sitting waiting, like, come on, anime, come on. Oh, there it is. And then it's like, oh, okay, it's pretty good. And then it's like, you know, and then it's like nothing happens again, right? Yeah, so you're sitting there just waiting for it. It's kind of like, if you read a hentai, I guess, a doshini, right, or similar, and you read that thing, and it's like, oh, this is supposed to be like this really cute yaoi couple, okay, when are they gonna do it, right? You read it, and it's like 45 pages, doshini, you know, yaoi doshini in this case, and then you read it, right? You read the first like 41 pages, and then finally they start actually doing it. It's like a huge long dialogue, and then it's like, okay, you know, now it's finally happening. And then it's like one page of them like kissing or something, and then it's like over. And you know, and it's like, what? And it doesn't even like to be continued. It's like, this is over. This is the lab. This is the hentai. It's like, this is the hentai. It's just a dialogue with like one kiss there. That is not very. Luckily, that is not overly common, but especially I think in yaoi genre, that's more so because it's more like dialogue heavy, you know, focusing on, I guess, with the more female audience. But still though, right, like it's like huge amount of dialogue and no actual scenes. It's like, man, it has to be some scenes at least. Something has happened, especially if it's like 40-50 pages. It's one of the last 2 pages something happens. So it's like kind of like, man, it's kind of weird. Especially, I don't want to say any artist name here, right, but I think also some artists writes pretty bad dialogue too. It's like, there are really good artists that actually draw something, right, but they can't really do very proper dialogue. So you're like, man, can you just get to the actual stuff? Because you're very good at doing actual art, but the actual, like, you know, dialogue between the two characters isn't that good anyway, so you can't get to the stuff, right? So anyway, I digress. My point, of course, is that this anime, I think, has that feeling. You're kind of waiting for it. Come on, give me the ecchi. Oh, there we go, leg ecchi. Oh yeah, oh, she's like, oh my god, no, you poor, yeah. you're waiting for that moment, and it's like, oh, it's always there, right? But it's very, very little of it, and it's very slow paced. And I think again, as I talked about earlier, right, in the anime, a big problem is that the anime is trying to be, I really feel so, trying to be a little bit of everything, right? It's trying to be ecchi to some extent, but it's only like 1 or 2 minutes per episode, so it's pretty, it's got very low ecchi, right? It's nothing compared to, for example, I don't know, Dumbbell, where it's like huge amount of ecchi, right? Dumbbell is like, training and ecchi all the time, right? Yeah. So it's not that. And the comedy, I mean, it's not that funny, I think, right? And the thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to make a monster girl anime or a similar, horror anime with monster girls, someone with several girlfriends. You don't have to make it comedy, but it's definitely easier to make it comedy, right? It can also be kind of, space war, some, alien fight. It can be, all, whatever, yeah, even alien girls or whatever, and this is magical, badass space war, and sometimes you have some fan service, whatever, yeah. You can make it happen, and it can be, different stuff and so on, of course. But it's not doing that either, right? It's not doing that. It's not doing the drama, the narration either. And of course, as I mentioned, even episode 1, I think a huge issue is that the Doctor himself. He's like a tabula rasa, completely, he's like the most boring main character ever. He doesn't have any flaws or strengths, almost. I guess he has strength in skills. But I have this long, debate people now about Rent a Girlfriend, right? People are like, oh, he's so awesome, relatable simp character. No, he's like super unrelatable. I don't think he's relatable at all in Rent a Girlfriend, because he is too extreme, right? I must say people can't have flaws, but I would say he has hundred flaws, which makes it very honest in my opinion. But at least he's like a character, right? He's very, very always doing the dumbest thing he can do, and that's kind of funny, right? So he creates comedy, right? If you watch, and so on, right? So there's a lot of typical rom-com characters have personality, right? Which usually is to avoid getting smashed, right, for some reason. But whatever, I digress. But they have some kind of personality. This guy is like, oh, here's a leg, And I have to say, I find it kind of funny though, and that's actually kind of what I laughed at that scene, where of course the confident, the last day when she kind of talks to him, right, as I mentioned earlier, and she kind of talks to him, and she's like, huh, you some kind of skibby sensei, some kind of this, and she also mentions that, like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you feel anything, right? She was like, why? How can you just touch her leg and don't consider this thing and so on? So she even fortwalling it, and she's like, people find it strange that you don't have any emotions, right? And then later on, when he is with a flesh golem, or some flesh golem, she also said, how can you not get, excited touching me? Yeah, she also gets angry at him, right? It's like Sundra, how can you not like my body, right? And yeah, I agree. It is boring. He's so boring. The main character, I haven't imagined, even episode 1 immediately, I was like, man, he is so nothing. He's just there, right? And everything is surrounding the girls. And that could have been, I don't know, it's just, it is obviously would have been way easier, at least, to make a joke, right? When he is fixing her body, and she is doing all these weird noises, and she's like, oh, can you not? If he was like awkward, like, oh, can you please shut up? I'm trying to, sue your body here, and you're doing all this noise. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't be cliche, but I'm saying it would be a little more fun if he actually has some issue with it. Now he's like a robot. He's like, fixed, okay, whatever. So I think that's a big problem too, right? The main character is incredibly boring. That's a big problem, and he's getting surrounded. And it's weird too, because usually, you have the main character, usually being a dense, right? Or there's a kind of pervert, either one, usually. And he's neither, he's just nothing. So he's even seems to be aware that they do like him, but he doesn't act on it, because he's like, he doesn't have any emotion. You see what I mean? So instead of being the dense main character, let's say like Clover Asta, he's surrounded by, Rebecca, Noel, and so on, and Nero and so on, last episode. And they're like, oh, Asta-kun! They're trying to get at him, right? And he's like, oh, I don't understand what's happening. Oh, great food, Rebecca. She's like, yes, great food. Is something more that's great? He's like, food is great. He's like, oh, I hate him, yeah. God damn it. And even Rebecca's like, Noel, if you, are you better sleep with him? That's, yeah, so on, right? And that's really funny, right? Because he's a super dancer, and now Yami's too, and so on. So that's a classic, like, shonen, especially shonen, romance, best girl, waifu comedy, right? Fine. You have that kind of thing. Then you have something like in Oresuki, great anime, where the main character is like, I'm gonna have my harem, oh yeah, and he's like, oh, I got to get some girlfriends. He's a complete pervert. He's like, he wants to, yeah, he's well aware that, they are, they want him, and he's trying to get some, right? Yeah. that's funny too. He's like a super. How can I get the horror ending? He's trying to be a man of culture to the fullest, right? And that's great. But this character instead, he seems to actually be more or less aware, right? They do like him, more or less, especially with the main girl. But instead of being like, oh, I can get some action, right? Like a normal man would have reacted to that. At least when it comes to his actual, basically his wife, right? I mean, Safi-chan is living with him. They're like childhood best friends, and she's in love with him. So it's like, and he seems to love her back too. So in that stage, it's even strange. I mean, you could argue that why don't he smash the Kentaro is because he's in love with Safi. That's the argument I could, go by and say, yeah, that's fine. Okay, he's in love with the Lamia, so he's not gonna smash the other girls, even though he's aware they want to smash him. Okay, that's an argument that I could live with. Okay, fine. He wants to have the true romance and not the horror man. Okay, fine. But that being said, again though, he's not smashing her either, even though she really wants to, right? And he wants her, I guess. That's the problem with Amira, because he seems to be not the dance dad. He's like a smart doctor guy. So he's not stupid, right? He's like a saint. He's like a smart guy. But again, then he is not acting on that. So what the hell is that anime? Like, what the hell is that, right? So yeah, he's so boring, and it makes it worse, right? That he seems to be aware of the romance hints to him, but he doesn't care, right? But the thing is that I ever see him in reflect and say that, okay, clearly this Kenta girl wants me, and she's a goddamn fine princess, but I'm in love with my Lamia-chan, so I'm gonna ignore her and have to get away from not getting her. Like Peter the Grill said, Peter the Grill, he's like, I'm in love with this princess here, so I have to avoid these crazy Unis and elves, and so I have to avoid them, right? He's well aware, he's not the hands, he's well aware of what they want, but he wants not a girl, right? Yeah, that is an intrigue, you can have something here, right? This character he seems to be aware, but he's just like dead inside. He's like, oh, you want me? No, okay. And he just avoids her by being like playing dead. He's like, yeah, it's just, oh man. Very frustrating anime to see, because you feel that there are so many moments, I guess, when I watch this anime. There's so many moments where I feel it could have been funnier, it could have been better written. It's just like every damn scene I feel could have been better. That's probably what I want to feel like. Every damn scene could have been better. And because he can't decide what it wants to be, it is trying to be like 5-6 different genres at the same time, I guess. Half ecchi, half comedy, half political drama, and nothing is really delivering. Nothing is like amazing. Everything's like kind of meh. So yeah, that's my review. I don't know, guys. Leave a comment below. But I'm just like, I think that what I feel mainly, as I mentioned earlier, is that it is a chore, right? I have to really sit here and be like, when is the scene coming? When is the smashing? Yeah, I have to sit here and wait and wait. That's what I really feel when I watch the anime. I truly feel that I have to be like, come on. Why doesn't it work right? That's my thing. It's a chore. So anyways, subscribe it, press the like button to get more God of High School. I made it much better, and of course Fruit Basket, which also made a much better anime with more drama and intrigue and so on, and comedy, right? But yeah, this anime is really hitting nothing, I feel. It's not it's definitely an issue too. That is not exceeding in anything, right? I've seen better ecchi, I've seen better comedy, I've seen better political drama, I have seen better monster girls. It's just like, man, it's just. But again, I want to like it because I really love monster girl animes. It's like my favorite genre. I really want to like it. But it's like, man, nothing is happening. Anyway, see you guys and have a